What up, dudes? Welcome back to the O Video Games Podcast SideQuest, where we take a subject we didn't have enough time to cover in the main podcast, or we take a question that you guys have for us and we answer it here.
Yeah, and today we're just going to rank all of the red light districts that we've been to.
Can anyone beat Thailand?
I don't think anybody can beat Thailand. Although it's funny enough, they are building a red light district building in Amsterdam, I think, where they're gonna move all of the red light district into a single sort of like 5-story building that literally is like this weird spiral building that glows red. Like I saw like a snippet of an article.
Has to be an Amsterdam thing because I'm like, who builds a red light intentionally?
The Dutch. Just leave it to them. But no, today we've got a cool question that's very topical because the writer's strike started. But Psychosis asked, what movie genres do you want to see make a comeback? And it's perfect time because maybe we're going to see writers have enough power to actually make things they want to make now instead of a creative executive who went to school for business management.
Right.
Or some tech bro being like, the algo says this is what people like. All right, well, fuck you. Okay. The algo says that Barry should have been a failure and it's one of the best TV shows on right now. The algo also said Breaking Bad should have been a giant fucking failure.
Yeah, I could definitely see that,
but yeah, sort of not to get into the downer of the writer's strike, just to talk about genres of movies we want to see make a comeback. And I have the easiest genre I want to see make a comeback because every few years they make one. And it does okay. And a lot of people are like, holy shit, it's the best movie of the year. It's the most entertaining. This is the Hollywood I want to see. And then they don't get made anymore. And of course, I'm talking about buddy cop movies. Like The Nice Guys. The Nice Guys is the perfect example. The Nice Guys is one of the best movies of the last several years, and it's just kind of skated by.
You know, it's funny because buddy cop seems like such a like people don't do buddy cop; they'll do buddy ensemble,
right?
Kind of like you'll get Dungeons and Dragons movie, which was really good, but it's an ensemble film.
Yeah, and it's a heist film.
It's a heist film, yeah. It's funny because like Sherlock and Holmes. Or Sherlock
and Watson. Yeah,
Watson
Holmes. That's a buddy cop film.
Sherlock Holmes and I said and Holmes because I forget. I was trying my brain. I was trying to process what was the Robert Downey Sherlock films called because apparently he wants to bring it back and make a third one.
Yeah, Sherlock Holmes and then A Game of Shadows was the second one.
Okay, yeah, I think the other one was like a TV show or series, or streaming series or something I was thinking of. But anyways, like you would think with Sherlock and Watson, there's a buddy comedy film right there, even though it'd be like a period piece one. So you really just want Lethal Weapon 5, right?
I mean, I would like an original or a Nice Guys 2. But yeah, I would take a Lethal Weapon. Like it's been a while since they've really put effort into a buddy cop film. Like, They had the takeoff of the buddy cop film, which was The Other Guys, right? Which was basically a buddy cop making fun of buddy cop films.
Yeah, because that was the one. That's one where like was it Dwayne Johnson and someone jumped off a building?
Yeah, it's Dwayne Johnson and Samuel L. Jackson like fist bump and jump off a building because they think they're action heroes and they just die. But yeah, I would love that. The serious is fine too, but like I prefer the Lethal Weapons and there's drama and stuff, but like there's also just like I don't know, dudisms, I guess. I sort of love that.
What you want is a bromance, Andrew?
Kinda, yeah.
Would you want a buddy cop film that's like something like Nice Guys, like of that caliber quality, right?
Yeah.
But then at the end of it, they throw a little bit of a curveball at you at the end, and then they basically look at each other and just decide at the end of the movie, like, "Hey, you know what? I love you too." and then they twist you, and they're like, "It actually was a romance movie." The whole thing plays out as a straight buddy cop, and then at the end, they just decide, you know what? I fucking love this dude, and they just. Bam! And ends with a gay wedding, banned in Florida, never played in Oklahoma.
The thing is, I would probably love it just for how angry it would make the general audience. Do I need it? Nah, nah. I actually like.
I think that would be the best pitch ever. To me, I'm like, yes, let's do a movie that's literally like a buddy cop, nice
Yeah, it's
guy
just Lethal
stuff.
Weapon, but at the
And
end,
then and
Murtagh is
then,
just raw dogging.
then at the very it just ends. They just decide at the end, you know what? I love you, man, and it ends with a gay wedding.
I
It would
mean,
be amazing. And have George
uh,
Takei as like the aficionado or whatever they're called.
the police captain.
No,
Um,
the wedding priest
yeah, but he
dude,
could be the
whatever.
police captain that marries them at the end.
Sure, aficionado. I just made that word up.
Efficient.
Efficient. There you go.
Uh, yeah, I guess Shane Black is sort of the king of buddy cop films, so I guess if he did it, it'd be even bigger of a loop. People wouldn't
I
see
think
it
it's
coming.
just. I think it would be great. It would be. It would be. And no, don't even advertise it. Like literally, don't put it anywhere in the marketing or the advertising. Like just fucking spring it upon people at the end.
I don't even want it to be a wedding. I want them to just start making out. Like truly just really if you're gonna go for the shock factor of like pissing off homophobes, really just like get in there, Like
Well,
the
I don't want to
two
make the
manlies.
joke about like her, they're gay. I would also just be like, it would just be
No, I
like,
think the joke is the unexpected turn of like two manly dudes who aren't the stereotypical Hollywood depiction of gay. Like
yeah.
they're the stereotypical Hollywood depiction of like manly dudes, Bruce Willis and Mel Gibson, but at the end they're in love. And like you get your like 80s love making scene, but it's two dudes. Like you get like the soft lighting and candlelight and shit. It's just two
Oh,
dudes.
you want to go full like hard R uncomfortable
Yeah,
for.
fuck it. I mean, I want a buddy cop film. I don't want like a fucking PG-13. I want like
Oh,
the nice
so you
guys.
want
I
you
want
really want
Lethal
lethal
Weapon.
because you
I
want it to
want
be rated R.
Yeah, I want it to bring back like the heyday of buddy cop films. Like fuck all that. If we're doing it, let's do it.
So you don't
Um,
like PG-13 buddy cop films in general.
I'm fine with them. I'm just saying like
Just
I,
saying
I
they're
want.
better when there are.
I feel it is better when that decision is made from a writer and not made from a producer. When a producer comes in, they're like, "Yeah, we're going to make a PG-13." Like, sure, PG-13 films can be perfectly good. Um, the only reason I like R is there just tends to like you can drop an F bomb here or there if it's the funniest thing you can do. Like, yeah, all right, a PG-13 you can say it once, and so it becomes a very singular, purposeful joke
Yeah.
where it's like, and it always ends up in the fucking trailer every time. You know, um,
It reminds me of like a weird thing I heard yesterday where Feige said like something to the effect of like, "Oh well, we thought we might use our first Marvel f bomb here, but
Guardians of the Galaxy, yeah,
yeah." And he's like, "I didn't think I just figured you probably didn't want to be the labeled the director who would have done that." To James Gunn, James was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "Do you
yeah.
know me? I would love that."
Um, yeah, no, I think that's the marketing of the movie is going to be very. You're going to see a lot of discussion about where the f bomb is, and you're going to see
Oh,
parents
is there an f
rail
bomb
against.
in
Yeah, there's one because you're allowed one in a PG-13 film, and
Oh,
James.
so James Gunn did get it. He
Yeah,
got it. Oh,
Guardians of the
okay.
Galaxy 3 is going to be the first MCU film to feature the f bomb.
Good.
Yeah, it's gonna be there, but it's also gonna be like a very singular, pointed joke. Like the first,
Non-sexual.
yeah, the first time somebody dropped an f bomb unexpectedly in a PG-13 film, everybody was like, "Oh, amazing!" And that was "Be Cool."
Hmm.
Be Cool was the follow-up to,
Get shorty.
Get Shorty, and in it, he's a movie producer now, he's a mobster, he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh," and he tells you the rule, you can say the F-bomb one time if you wanna keep your PG-13 rating, and Get Shorty was rated R, Be Cool, the sequel, was PG-13,
Hmm.
and, he was like, "What? What did you say to that?" And I said, "Fuck that," and it was like a key moment in the movie as the movie's starting. He says the F bomb one time and he's still a gangster. And it's just like, fuck, it always turns into that. Just give me an R. If you gave me an R where they don't use the F bomb at all, and it's R for because they're making sexual jokes that don't involve the F word or whatever fucking other reason, or there's a murder in it,
You mean
like
the Matrix,
sure, yeah. Like that's
where they don't actually ever say the F word, and there's actually pretty little gore as far as gore goes.
I think it got its R because of the scene where he gets the implant put in him, or the
I heard
horror
it was
scene.
because they had unedited hits to the head, like straight up punches and kicks to people's head, and there was no cutting away. So they're
Jesus.
like, yeah, they're like showing like full on head trauma without any like sharp cuts or any like hiding it. And I'm like, that's why it's R.
The rating system makes no sense.
And of course it does. There's a whole
Um,
documentary on that.
the other genre I want to come back, by the way, is like B movie adventure films, like Romancing the Stone. Like
Fucking yeah.
yeah, hell
Hey,
yeah. Indiana
we will.
Jones.
We're gonna
Indiana
get our
Jones was
well, we're getting our swan song,
that's fair.
next month.
Um,
So
I think you know what happened with Indiana Jones? The reason why the fourth one had the problems it had, it no longer was a B movie with practical sets and kind of like
yeah.
that
Well,
swagger that
it
a
went
B
into
movie can have,
it went into like sci-fi schlock because it was
which
trying to be a sci-fi, you know.
I think if it would have kept the B movie aesthetic and the B movie parameters, that would have been,
Mhm.
but it also went full blown like, here's a shitload of CGI. We're a blockbuster this time, so a nuke is going to go off and I'm going to be in a fucking refrigerator. It's like the original movies had plenty of fantastical stuff, but they were like they were limited. They still had like chains on it to keep it grounded in a way.
I get what they were doing because they're trying to mimic the 50s in film
Right.
and sort of like B movie films of the 50s. I get what they were going for. Totally understand it. My argument is that it's not as interesting. Fundamentally cheap schlock 50 sci-fi is not as interesting as 1930 serials.
Fair. Yeah. But like Romancing the Stone.
Master Stone or like Jewel of the Nile.
Yeah. Just dumb, fun adventure movies with your over the top, I'm an
It's funny because
archaeologist, but I'm also just like a swinging dick, punching Nazis, badass.
you know what's kind of like that? I don't know if it was it 6 Days, 7 Nights.
Oh,
Is actually very much a Romancing the Stone kind of modern day version
it's
of
yeah,
that.
it's got that
And
in
it's
there.
got Harrison Ford in it.
Yeah, is that the one with Anne Heche?
It's some woman.
Okay.
Some-
But like one of my favorite things from Romancing the Stone is they set up like especially those older movies. And buddy cop movies had to do this all the time too. You had like 5 minutes in the beginning where you could set up a key plot point later on,
yeah.
that like could seemingly come
Oh,
out of nowhere.
like little like small implemented payoffs.
Right. And like this would be like a thing where like now you've got to like set it up with like a very obvious,
Mhm.
thing. But like in Romancing the Stone, how like one of the key plot points is that the bad guys all read her novels.
Yeah.
And so like the macho dudes like end up saving the day because they all love her novels. In the very beginning of the movie, her editor goes like, "Oh, you do it." She's like reading the numbers to her author, to the main character, and she's like, "Oh, and you do great in all those machismo countries, where like where
Yeah.
machismo reigns and stuff." And it's like, oh, it's this little nugget that like, if you're not paying attention, you're just watching the credits basically. Like, but it sets up a key plot point for how the day gets saved, and it's just like, oh fuck. And now that movie's not like Romance in the Stone's not amazing, it's not going to win any Oscars, but it is a super fun
Yeah.
movie. That they just don't make movies like Uncharted had the possibility of being something like that.
Uncharted is what's like the biggest like softball for setting up a Romancing the Stone kind of movie or whatever.
Right, and they
But
just didn't. They wanted
they
it to be
just
an action
horribly
movie instead.
miscast it.
I didn't even think that they miscast it so much as they one of the key things about Indiana Jones, even though it's a globe-trotting movie, or like about Romancing the Stone, is it is still very grounded and isolated. Like Uncharted, they tried to make it this like,
it was like a weird mix of Bond.
yeah, they wanted it to be James Bond.
With Bond, which is funny because Indiana Jones was born from Spielberg's desire to make a James Bond film, and then George Lucas talked him into his idea instead.
Yeah,
which is why Sean Connery was his dad. But yeah, it's just funny because like Indiana Jones went full embracement of the 1930 serial adventure film, rather than it didn't try to be a hybrid, right?
Right.
Like Spielberg left the idea it's not a Bond film, it's not going to be a Bond film. It's globetrotting, but it's for an adventure serial. It's not a James Bond movie. Where Uncharted tried to be both, and it doesn't really work.
Yeah, I'm a
I
super
don't
thief James Bond type.
know. I
I
don't
weigh 140 pounds.
know.
Like, I like Tom Holland a lot, actually. I just and I
I
didn't
mean,
even
you
think
just
that
needed to give him like a good 15, 20 years before he should have gone into that role, though. I'm just saying.
I the thing is I think he was fine. It's just that I didn't think it was like they didn't think about how to ground that movie. And like Mark Wahlberg is actually not bad as solely
Hmm.
personality wise. It's just like he's not old enough.
He's
Like he
home
doesn't
enough.
look old. He looks too good for what he's supposed
It
to
should
be.
have been like a prequel movie. But anyways,
Yeah.
um my genre never can't come back because it was never popular to begin with.
How dare you?
Because every genre, every time my pick has ever been made, it has never been successful.
What is it?
Um, I would love a good cyberpunk sci-fi story.
Oh yeah, sci-fi always has a hard time though. That's why
Sci-fi
Blade
has a
Runner
hard time
2049.
in general, and
Yeah.
then like I would love to see a hyper success. I would just love to see wants to see a cyberpunk style story. And when I say I don't mean the video game. I mean like, like
The
something
genre.
like
Yeah, yeah.
the genre of Blade Runner, Dark City, something like that. Um, I would love to see that really take off. Because it's not post-apocalyptic, it's dystopian,
Well,
futuristic.
that's the problem is like every time you say dystopian to a creative executive now, they go, "Yeah, post-apocalyptic, Book of Eli."
No.
It's like, fuck, I don't want everything to be like uh deserted desert brown filter like or it's not brown, it's like that white yellow filter they put over it.
Yeah.
Like, it's nuclear haze and everything's a weird shade of brown. He's got a brown coat over a brown shirt over
Mhm.
brown pants.
Which is really interesting when you think about it too, because like it's all brown, orange, hazy in Vegas in like Blade Runner 2049. But like when he's in San Diego, there's no filter at all.
Right.
Even though he's in like a garbage heap or more or less. But like,
Yeah,
um,
I do think a there's like a swing back towards the post-apocalyptic being the green apocalypse, where like
mhm.
nature takes back everything and it's like, yeah, okay, things are rotting, but it's actually prettier
Yeah,
than
and I would like something,
that
even something like
dystopian grungy super city. Yeah.
yeah, I saw that movie. I forgot what it's called. Like it was a Hugh Jackman movie, Remembrance or whatever,
Mm,
where it shows like like half flooded Florida or something.
yeah.
So it's kind of like got the like it's still a functioning society, but it's like dystopian a bit because it's like, yeah, sea level rose totally fucked over like, coastal cities, you
Yeah, everything's
know,
rotting.
yeah, everything's so over there, things are rotting kind of thing. Like there's like the part of the city that's like the abandoned part, versus, but then we also have the dystopian part where everyone moved to, stuff like that, So it's not like, again, it's not post apocalyptic. People are not like scrunging for survival. It's like, no, here's the city where it is here, and then there's like the dystopian part where basically people like the really underprivileged got left to rot kind of thing.
Yeah, I think the reason nobody wants that is that we see that constantly in the news. Like, I'm not
Yeah, I
even
like
saying that it's necessarily real. Like, 90% of it is just heavily exaggerated. We don't live in a dystopia yet. But if you watch the news
it's
too much,
you think
you
so.
begin to
Like,
think it. That's why
and
you
then
got
there's like it's almost like, yeah, the movie studios don't want to fund something that's literally like a pointed, self-reflection of capitalism's evils or whatever,
yeah.
or corporate evils, corporate greed run rampant. Like it's really hard to get them to fund a movie about the evils of unchecked, monopolistic corporate greed.
Yeah, I wonder why.
I'm like,
Hmm.
damn, because it works. It comes off so well too. And the funny thing is like even with stuff like Blade Runner and whatnot, it's not even about like a scathing and oh my god, corporations are so evil. It's just kind of like, yeah, they ballooned out of control, and then there's this whole other humanistic tale on the side of it. What it's really telling is a different tale, and it's just set to this backdrop of like, yeah, there's like this mega corp that's like kind of like they're there and imposing, and maybe they have like a bit to do with whatever's going on. But like in Blade Runner's case, they're always humanistic tales.
Right.
Completely. They're always humanistic and existential tales. And I love that shit. I would love to see a big existential, dread movie break through, but people just don't like it, to the point where it's like not even like, oh, I don't like that. Like they just like avoid it.
Yeah, nobody wants to sit down and be told like this is where life's going. It's like, well,
Yeah, we're gonna
optimists
be
at
we're
heart.
gonna be eating mealworms. We're gonna be living in a completely synthetic city. There's gonna be only like 2 or 3 corporations that control everything. People are like, oh, I don't want to live with that. I'm like, well, you almost do, but okay. Don't go watch a movie about it.
Fair. Give it time though. Soon people will be wistfully looking back on it. A couple hundred
Yeah,
years, everybody will be like, oh, the good days.
but I would like a good dystopian sci-fi, not post-apocalyptic, because they've done a lot of post-apocalyptic. There's been successful post-apocalyptic, because post-apocalyptic, I think, leads itself to underdog tales, and everyone fucking loves an underdog tale.
Mhm.
A survival against all odds, a hero rising up,
There's
kind of
also
thing.
nothing you can do about a post-apocalypse,
Yeah,
right? If you make a movie about a dystopia and you clearly call out the types of things that lead to this world, then all of a sudden there's like an onus of responsibility that comes out of that.
I feel people would be on my ass and saying that's exactly what fucking Hunger Games is, you asshole. And I'm like, I guess that's true
Post-apocalyptic, it's not dystopian.
if the main city didn't look like a Luc Besson nightmare.
A porno shot by Luc Besson.
Well, I don't think I'd
Cat
want that.
people and
Pretty sure you don't want a porno shot by him, because it probably involve a lot of questionably aged actresses.
fair enough. All right. On that note,
Yeah, I went there.
on that note, you could say, did you ever watch Tenet?
No.
Tenet is a semi-dystopian
Yeah,
future.
and I guess Interstellar kind of is, but then it's like it's mostly fucking in space and Matthew McConaughey being sad and a wank off to 2001, and I don't want that.
Oh, that's so good.
What, Interstellar? Interstellar is good except for the Matt Damon part. I think it was Matt Damon. I actually don't know. He was
Really, I
bald.
kind of liked the Matt Damon part.
Well, it felt like a whole fucking separate film.
It's only
Like
10 minutes.
this is a whole ass plot to a whole nother movie, and it's just a detour in this one.
I want more space movies. Give me more.
I'm
more
all for that
stuff.
too.
Yeah.
Sci-fi just has a tough go at it every time. It seems like Marvel can crack that nut because Marvel quips, but
the quip, it does actually.
it's quips and Marvel, and if you have Marvel like in the logo, it gets enough people are like, I don't normally watch sci-fi, but I'll watch it. It's Marvel. The kids will love it.
I don't actually have to pay attention to any of this.
I'll know what's going on in the next Avengers movie. So it's fine. It can be a Trojan horse. I just I'd really love a really good fucking dystopian existential sci-fi dread film. Nobody wants to watch that shit but me, apparently.
See, you gotta write it, and then we make it purely for YouTube. We'll never make a fucking dime, but somebody will watch it. About 15 people who all want to be sad about the future. Exactly. I'll watch it. I like it. I like that kind of shit.
Thank you. You know what? Thank you.
Can we make it
you? I'll have my girlfriend, and maybe I can talk Max into it.
Can we make it a buddy cop dystopian future
that ends in a gay marriage?
Hell yeah. It'd be beautiful. It'd be really good. And maybe like the last third of it is very romancing the stone, and that's where it starts getting more romantic.
Maybe it gets romancing the stone, but instead of being like long lost civilization, it's like just the abandoned part of like the really dystopian abandoned parts of our own Route 66 or something.
Yeah, like a 300-year-old Costco.
Yeah. And someone found their clubhouse and up in the boxes on the top shelf or something like that other comedy.
This is an open cavern. Wow. Where do you think Kirkland was. Amazing. All right.
We're making Idiocracy.
We are, unfortunately. But maybe if we make a movie that can warn people. Oh, sorry, you meant like the movie, not society. Fair enough. I was all
Ah,
right.
was I?
We're making like society is very quickly going down a path of like where it's a mix between Wall-E and Idiocracy.
Yeah,
That's the future we're in for.
it's
Although
Idiocracy
honestly,
with Wally's weight.
yeah, and like
Wally
if we can
people
get those
wait.
hover chairs, I'm in.
All right.
All right. Catch you next time, dudes.
Later, dudes.